September 13, 2022. 22-year-old Mahsa Amini is visiting Iran's capital Tehran with her family. Her and her brother are on the way to a local metro station when something goes terribly wrong. Mahsa is stopped by the police for questioning, but it's not just any old police force you find in every city around the world. It's Iran's notorious morality police, a special police unit tasked with enforcing Islamic dress codes throughout the country. And there's really only one thing they care about: Iranian women, their clothes, and more specifically their headscarves, or hijabs. Unfortunately, Mahsa Amini was wearing her hijab that day a little bit too loose for the morality police's taste. God forbid anyone does that, so they immediately confronted her. And what happens to women when they don't wear their hijabs correctly? They get arrested on the spot. No warnings, no fines. Women simply get arrested for inappropriate appearance. Yes, that is an actual crime in Iran. They get thrown into the morality police car, and then they get shipped off to a re-education center. A kind of detention center where you have to go through an intense lesson on modesty, on why the hijab is mandatory in Iran and why not wearing it correctly is a crime. Once they sign a pledge and swear to never disobey Iran's dress code again, they are set free. But in the case of Mahsa Amini, she wasn't so lucky. 3 days after her detention, she ended up dead.
22-year-old Mahsa Amini.
This accusation that she was beaten.
She was tortured and killed
in the custody of Iran's morality police.
To the public, the morality police said that she suffered several heart attacks during her re-education and was rushed to the hospital. Because 22-year-old healthy women definitely have heart attacks all the time.
What a joke.
Conveniently, no one had been allowed to see her alive, no one was allowed to investigate her death, and no one was allowed near her body after she died. No autopsy. In the past, the government probably would have been able to get away with this lie, but not this time. Because today, the Iranian people have the internet, so they quickly found out what really happened to her. There's footage of her being thrown into a bus hitting her head on impact. Witnesses started coming forward saying that the police beat Mahsa over and over again, that she was tortured, fell into a coma, and died from her injuries, all because of a piece of clothing covering her hair. When the truth behind Mahsa's death hit the streets, all hell broke loose. Thousands of women in Iran stormed the streets, protesting against their oppressive regime. They started ripping off and burning their hijabs, and some were even cutting off their hair in public. It's the biggest revolt Iran has seen in years. And in response, the Iranian government hit back with full force, initiating a vicious crackdown against everyone who opposes them. They blacked out the internet, there were mass arrests of protesters, and they're threatening anyone who dares defy their religious authority. Before, a crackdown like this would have been enough. But this time, something is different. This time, the threats and arrests aren't scaring the masses into submission. This time, people are only getting angrier, louder, and stronger, and it's pushing Iran to the very edge. Stay dangerous, click the subscribe button, and this is the Iran Crisis. And if you want some free stuff, you can get up to 12 free stocks valued up to $30,600 when you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount with the link below. There's no catch, all you have to do is open an account, deposit as little as $1, and that is it. You'll get up to 12 free stocks valued up to $30,600 deposited straight into your account. And yes, once the stocks have settled in your account, you can sell them, use that money to buy other stocks, or even withdraw the money. So you might as well pause the video and click the link below to claim your free stocks now, because this promotion is definitely not going to last forever. Signing up is super fast and easy. All you have to do is fill out some basic information, deposit some money, and you're done. The first 2 shares you get when you open your account will be valued up to $300 each. And the next 4 to 10 shares you get after you deposit some money in your account will be valued up to $3,000 each. We are going into a recession right now, so you're gonna want to make sure you have everything set up and ready to go so that you can buy if and when everything crashes. And Webull is the app to do it. It's a really great commission-free stock trading app that was ranked the best investment app in 2021 by Benzinga, and it has a 4.5-star rating from NerdWallet. So what are you waiting for? Get your 12 free stocks valued up to $30,600 right now by pausing the video and clicking the link below. Thanks to Webull for sponsoring this video.
Before the Iranian Revolution in 1979, Iran was completely different to what it is today. It was actually a tourist capital of the Middle East. Americans and Europeans would flock there to vacation, and women were allowed to dress however they wanted. It was actually a pretty liberal, peaceful country compared to today. After the 1979 revolution, however, things took a complete 180. Strict Islamic rulers took over the country, and the country descended into darkness. Iran was now an Islamic republic, governed by Islamic law. American music, films, and fashion are outlawed. Any liberals left were thrown into prison or killed. And women had to now wear hijabs, covering their entire head and neck. Not a single hair must be seen in public, because they consider a woman exposing her hair in public as literally the same equivalent as her being naked. We definitely don't want these temptresses tempting men now, would we? So there are no exceptions. It doesn't matter if you're a local, a foreigner, a Muslim, or a Christian. You either follow the Iranian dress code or you face ugly consequences. And the new government quickly put together a morality police force to make sure women fell into line, called the Islamic Revolution Committees.
But she still has this scar where morality police cut her hand, demanding she cover her hair. But she removed her hijab in protest. She was also arrested by morality police. Her crime, showing her bare wrist. She was thrown into a police car while her family tried to save her.
If you're a woman and you're caught violating the Islamic dress code in Iran, you face one of two outcomes. If you're lucky, getting arrested for inappropriate appearance earns you a day at a re-education center where you're verbally abused into submission and forced to sign a pledge never to let your hair show in public again. If you're not so lucky, you end up at that same re-education center, but instead of yelling, you're beaten to a pulp so they can really get the message across. And if you're really unlucky, that one-day re-education camp can turn into 2 months in prison to give you enough time to reflect on the horrendous crime you've committed. That is the reality of life for Iranian women for the past 40 years. And since then, pretty much every woman in Iran, especially in the capital Tehran, has some kind of horror story to tell when it comes to the morality police. Iranian women have been humiliated and abused for decades over the way they dress, and every year they've had to take it, hoping they'll make it another day without being arrested for wearing jeans or a t-shirt. And in 2021, it only got worse. In 2021, Ebrahim Raisi became Iran's new president thanks to what many believe to be a rigged election. And like any good dictator, he had some unique ideas on how to better control the Iranian people. 2 words: total surveillance. But not just any surveillance, like catching criminals and potential terrorists. No. This time, it was all about monitoring women who didn't dress appropriately. Women who showed too much skin or a little bit of their hair.
Introduction of surveillance cameras to monitor and find unveiled women or refer them for counseling.
But it went further than that. On top of women, any Iranian, whether male or female, who posted content against the hijab rules online could also face prison time.
And mandatory prison sentence for any Iranian who questioned or posted content against the hijab rules online.
Thanks to this new total surveillance program, women wouldn't just be punished for publicly defying the Islamic dress code. They could be thrown in jail for even complaining about it in private. Understandably, Iranian women were furious. All the corruption and violence by their oppressive government on top of the insane hijab laws has led to a lot of tension in Iran over the last few years. But adding mass surveillance and mandatory prison time on top of that, it was the final straw. So instead of giving in to this totalitarian move or hiding out of fear, women began pushing back. The protests had started long before Mahsa Amini was ever arrested. Their anger and resentment had been boiling underneath the surface for so long, just waiting to be erupted. And the news about Mahsa Amini's death was the final straw. After the protests broke out, the first reaction of any oppressive regime is always sending in the police force, so that's what they did. Since then, the results have been brutal. Over 100 protesters have already been killed so far. On top of that, the Iranian government shut down the internet. WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, TikTok. The people couldn't use any of these apps to organize or communicate. Luckily, Elon Musk came to the rescue and activated Starlink over Iran. And yet somehow, despite the heavy crackdown and even military soldiers shooting into the crowds, the protests continued. It seems like President Raisi completely underestimated his people's willpower, especially the strength of Iran's women. The poor, the middle class, artists, entrepreneurs, people from all walks of life are on the streets fighting for their freedom. Because it's not simply about the hijab, it's much deeper than that. All the corruption, the oppression, all the police brutality that the people have had to suffer through for decades, it's all coming to the surface. And now they are demanding the dictator's head.
Many women also chanted "Death to Dictator" during the protests in a massive dare to the Islamist regime.
And it's not just in bigger cities like Tehran. Everywhere, even in smaller cities, they're on the streets, protesting for their freedom. Even as we're writing this video, more protests erupted after the body of a 16-year-old protester was found 10 days after she disappeared during protests in Tehran. Revolution is in the air. But unlike America, where people can own guns, it's definitely not like that in Iran. So all we can say is massive respect to the Iranian people, and Godspeed. Remember how we mentioned that before the Iranian Revolution in 1979, Iran was actually a pretty peaceful and liberal place that attracted Westerners, women could dress how they pleased? And how after the revolution, Iran descended into complete darkness, ruled under Islamic law? Well, guess who instigated that revolution? Oh, would you look at that? It was the US. See, back then, the Middle East was rather peaceful. It still had its problems, but it definitely wasn't as chaotic and war-torn as it is today. That was until the US got involved. In 1953, the CIA got the green light for Operation Ajax. Their mission? Get the Iranian Prime Minister Mossadegh out of power, dead or alive. So they launched a coup, but not just any coup. This was the very first time in history the CIA decided to overthrow a democratically elected government. And it worked. The Iran coup became one of the most successful covert operations in CIA history. What they didn't account for was all the consequences this coup would lead to. In fact, almost every major Middle Eastern terror event, all the wars, all the suffering since then can be traced back to this one CIA operation. And we'll give you a hint. It was all about oil. The problem is, covering the entire Iran coup of 1953 and the terror that followed would definitely get demonetized on YouTube. That's why we've released a private documentary on the Iran coup of 1953 only available to members of this channel that you can watch right now by clicking the join button below. Channel members have been loving it, and it will give you a better understanding of why Iran is in chaos today. Once you're a member of our channel, you will also have access to all the other private documentaries, like our latest one on the connection between Victoria's Secret and everyone's favorite island owner, Efrige Epstein. People bury themselves in debt for university, only to leave not knowing how the world really works. This, on the other hand, does give you a glimpse into how the world works, for only $5 a month. And you can guarantee that these documentaries are way more entertaining compared to lectures. And there's a refund policy too, unlike most YouTube memberships. So if you join and you don't think it's worth it, email us within your first month of joining for the first time and we will personally refund you for your first month. After your first month, there is no refund. So scroll down and hit that join button now.
It's videos like this that remind me that we have it pretty good in America. For all its flaws, most of the problems we have here are very much first world problems. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you're new here, this is one of the biggest channels on YouTube for documentaries on money, power, war, and crime, so that you can learn how the world really works instead of becoming a victim to it. So if you like the philosophy, if you want to be more dangerous, click that subscribe button below. It's free, you can unsubscribe whenever you want, and you can leave me your best hate comments whenever you want, so you have nothing to lose. You can follow me on Instagram at Tran, but that is going to wrap it up. Thanks for being part of the Watch to the End Club. Stay dangerous out there, and I will see you guys in the next one.